I got a double session this time. We got one session, we're going to go through it really quick, and then we're going to do hot seats. And those are one of my favorite things to do because it puts me nose to nose with you, and it gives me an opportunity to help you work through some calamity or crisis in your business or some major challenge that you haven't been able to quite conquer. And I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things to do. But what I want to do, I mentioned this to you yesterday, what I'd like to do is to take you through a process of what it takes to scale a business for growth. I want to take you through a software program that we did, which will accomplish two things. When you see how the software works and what it does, it's going to take you step by step through everything that you would manually do if you wanted to just do this for yourself. Because if you're going to scale a business, the steps are all the same. The only difference is there's computer automation that can also be used to put it on steroids. But the stuff that you're going to see to do doesn't change whether you've automated it or whether you're doing it individually. So again, I'm just going to get down here with the folks, and we're going to take a look at scaling your business for growth. Okay, the name of our product, by the way, is called Scaleforce, and it's our slogan there, where businesses go to grow. Here's some interesting information that I'd like to share with you. 82% of businesses do not support owners with their desired lifestyle. Can you believe that? All that work, all that time, all that energy, all that sacrifice, all that effort, all that intelligence, all of that competency, and they still can't make enough out of their business to really sustain the lifestyle that they really truly deserve. And less than 3% of businesses ever grow beyond a lifestyle business. In other words, they don't create wealth. They will provide a good lifestyle, but that's it. And it pretty much ends there. They may provide a little financial security in their old age when they sell it. And your big question has to be why? All the opportunity in the world is out there. All the knowledge is available to everybody. So how does that happen? We're going to talk about that in a minute. How to move your business beyond income to wealth creation, because that's what scaling your business is all about. It's taking your business beyond the ability to create a nice lifestyle for you and your family and create multi-generational wealth. Okay? If you are inclined to want to create some multi-generational wealth out of your business, please pay attention here, because we're going to show you what it takes to restructure your business so that it becomes a wealth-generating machine. In scaling for growth, it comes right down to challenges and solutions, like everything else in business. And so we're going to go through what those challenges and solutions would be. I want to see if you've heard these things, or more importantly, have you ever said these things? Okay? And you're going to see them. I'm going to put them up one at a time, and I'm going to look around the room, and I want to see who this resonates with. First one is, I want to take my business to the next level. Anybody here ever said that? Everybody, right? How you doing, guys? I'm not hearing a lot of people saying, well, got it conquered, okay? You're going to find out there's a reason why. I just can't seem to grow. My business has plateaued out. You ever hear that one? Okay? I can't find good employees. Trying to grow the business, I can't find anybody good to work in my company, all right? I don't have the time. I'm so busy doing my work, I don't have time to do these things to scale up my business. If only I had more cash, I could. I have news for everybody in this room. You don't need a $1 more cash than you have in your business right now to make it fly. You just need to have it structured properly, and all of a sudden the money starts to flow in, and it's a function of structure. Living with stress is a natural part of business ownership. How many people are going to live with stress in their business? Come on. Okay, and you've come to accept it, right? If I'm in business, I got to put out the fires, I got to handle this, I got to get that done. Oops, this just came up, I got to get that done. It's the way it works, right? I've hired good people, but they turned out to be idiots. That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites. And I hear that one more. I think sometimes the word idiots changes, but I hear that more often than anything, okay? I can't get my employees to do it the way I want it done. Anybody here ever have that problem? Okay. I took a week's vacation and came back to a total mess. I'm looking at a lot of sad faces around the room. All right, my best manager quit. Now nothing is getting done. All right, do you see how vulnerable your businesses are? One good person quits and all of a sudden things stop. Can't have that in a business. My customers will only talk to me. I want it done right, I have to do it myself. I hear that one again. That's my favorite. I hear that one more than any other one. I can't get anybody to do it the way I want it done. I have to do it myself. And as long as you feel that way about your business, guess what you're always going to be doing? It yourself. Okay? And what are you always going to be under when you have to do everything yourself? Stress and pressure. What are you never going to have time for? Your family, your friends, other things you like to do in life. Time to just rest and relax and then decompress. Okay? So it's really important that you get a firm grasp of what scaling your business means, because it's not just about growth. It's how you organize it to get rid of all that stuff. So why does this happen? Now, I love the session that happened just before our session, okay? Because it got into your head a little bit about how you see yourself and your buttons and there was some nut thing in there. I don't remember what that was, but it was what it was called. But okay, as a typical entrepreneur, the way you became an entrepreneur is you are a great doer. It doesn't matter what your challenge is. If it's right in front of you, you'll knock it down, blow it up, go around it, go through it, melt it, whatever it takes, you'll get the job done, right? Because that's who you are. And that's why you can't hire anybody like you, because they want to be employees. They don't do any of that stuff. So they're never going to meet your standard ever in life, so get over it. They're never going to meet your standard, okay? They are great at starting businesses. Entrepreneurial people are great at starting businesses. However, a great business builder is not a doer, okay? And as long as you have that subconscious voice going off in your head that says, I'm a doer, I can do it better than anybody, you're going to be stuck doing stuff and you're never going to scale your business for growth. You need to convert to something different. You need to become a planner, organizer, delegator. And for entrepreneurs, that's one of the hardest transitions to make because it doesn't fit you. Building a business requires different core competencies than probably you have, different skill sets, different experiences to draw on, and it requires a combination of drive, which most of you have, combined with a sense of urgency, but a sense of patience. Because there's going to be a lot of times when it isn't getting done right and you can't go crazy. You have to learn how do you ride with it and keep it working to a point of correction. So all those are antithetical to who you are as an entrepreneur. And so dealing with that is a problem. And so the question is, can entrepreneurs overcome that challenge? Few do, most don't. And that's why we had the statistics that I started with, is because most people, despite their greatest desires, despite throwing money at the problems, they don't get to a place where they overcome it and develop a business that's organized and can grow. So the question then is, how can you be one of the few that do? The first thing I'd like you to get a concept is that you can allow facilitated technology to do it for you. That's the solution we've worked very hard to create. But whether you choose to do that or not, I'm now going to take you through what it is that really has to happen in your business in order for it to make all those problems and quotes that we had that you hear all the time, make them all go away in your life forever. So what needs to be done? How do we do it? Where to get it done for you if you want to? How to run your company from your yacht in the Mediterranean. Doesn't that sound like a better way to run a business? Okay? How would you like to have everything on your cell phone, okay, that told you anytime, in real time, everything that's going on in your business, what's working, what's not working, who's performing, who's not performing, what the statistics are regarding any particular person with regard to their job performance, everything right at your fingertips, organized in a way that you can make decisions instantly about what to do, when to do it, how to do it, okay? We've taken it there. You don't have to take it to that level. You may not want to be on your yacht in the Mediterranean. You might want to be home just relaxing. But the same things that we do in our system are the same things that you must do in your business if you're going to do it, but you do it manually. First question I want to get past here is, how do you picture your business operation? Do you picture your business as a vast array of things that have to get done, where you sell a product or provide a service, that you bill and collect, that you hire experienced people who know what to do, and you have meetings and figure out what to do next? Or do you see your business as a series of coordinated, standardized projects, each with a beginning, middle, and an end, where you optimize your ability to sell, produce, service, and administer, and it's all done in an organized, standardized method, where essentially the top way, which is the way most people in business see themselves, it's essentially disorganized. Over here, you have a process now which everything becomes organized, set to standards, develops firm procedures of how everything gets done, where there's forms that complete and solidify every single thing that has to get done in the business, and then some automation that makes it easier for you to do. And now we're going to say, what does that look like in a real system? What does that look like in my business? How does it actually happen? Remember I talked yesterday about an ecosystem of businesses? Well, that's what we designed our system for, because if you're going to have not just one business operate well, but many businesses operate well, and what's more is operate well together, then they have to be organized into a system that makes that really easy to do. Because if you're trying to do it in one business, that's already a challenge. Now if you have to do it in 20 businesses, and they all have to work together, and they got to work on clients of each other's, you can imagine what that would be like if it wasn't organized. So we had no choice. And so the system I'm going to show you was built to create seamlessly organized, to eliminate stress on owners, employees, customers, suppliers, investors, joint venture partners, or any other business functionary. So the system has to be portable. It has to be able to tell you in real time anything you need to know about what's going on, not only in your business in this case, but in every business that's interacting with your client. And it has to be able to tell everybody who's interacting with your client the same thing. All right? So it's a very complex system, but we reduced it down to doability. Organizing resources for superior customer service, lowest possible cost, highest possible profit, where your project partners, in this case, remember, we built this for doing what we do, but just take that complexity out of it and now reduce it down to this is still what has to happen in your business. Okay, remember we talked yesterday about there's a client, right? Okay, there's one of two types of clients. It's either a business that's your client or customer, or it's a person, it's an individual. So there's a little different format depending on who your customer is. Businesses are going to get treated a little differently than an individual person if that's your customer. Okay, remember I talked the other day about a solution partner. That's the person who actually performs a given service for the client. Okay, and then you've got a client source partner. That's a person who, that client is already a client of theirs, and that client got cross-marketed to the solution partner to do the solution partner's work. Okay? All right? And remember the ISO, the Integrated Services Orchestrator, okay, or cross-marketers, as we sometimes call them? That person is a party to this system too. So the system has to lace together all of those people, creating a seamless system by which they can all take care of common clients and do it with total transparency, everybody knowing in real time exactly what's going on. I'm going to take you through what is in effect a sample project. Because remember I said everything's a project with a beginning, middle, and an end? Okay, so we got a project, okay? And the project is, one of our people has a client, and they tell them that they want to raise $1 million for their business, okay? So the project is going to be raise $1 million for this business. That's the project, okay? And the participants are going to be these folks. There's the client who wants to raise the $1 million. There's the client source of that partner who that's their client now. Then there's the solution partner who that client's going to get cross-marketed to. Then there's the ISO who's the party who worked with the client source to get that client business, and it's the ISO that actually created the cross-marketing that made the client source partner's client now the client of the solution partner, where the solution partner is going to raise him $1 million. Okay? So I just want you to see who the parties are. All right, now in an automated system, businesses don't talk to businesses, right? Brick and mortar doesn't talk to brick and mortar. It's people who do things. All right, so the system has to know who the referrer is in the client source. Whose customer or client was that in that firm? So now we have that. The computer knows who that person is. That's the source of the client. Okay, then we got to know who is the contact person with the client. We chose to use a business client as opposed to somebody who's just a person. Okay, so this is a business deal. We're going to raise them $1 million. All right, but we got to know who's the contact person at that company who's responsible at the company for getting the $1 million raised. And then we got to know who's the contact at the solution partner who's overseeing the project from that business's standpoint, and they're the responsible party to get the $1 million raised. So now, in our system, you got to know who's the contacts of all of these people, because they're the ones who have to be kept abreast of everything. Now, I didn't have a person underneath cross-marketer, because that is a person. All right, the solution partner, when they came into our system, we worked with them to take every single thing that they do and make it into a project on a timeline. And we built a template that every time they go to raise money, whether it's $500,000 or $1 million or $10 million or $100 million, there's a process that they go through. And that gets reduced down to a timeline template so that every time they get a new client that they're going to raise money for, they don't have to go figure everything out all over again. They just pull the template. All right? Done. And what that template tells us is a baseline, milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3, and a goal. Now, we only have 3 milestones there. There could be 100 milestones there. There could be 2. What are the key measurable points at which we can check to see things have been done? Okay? And I'm going to show you what some of these look like so you can get maybe a better sense of it. Okay? So the baseline over here says onboard the client. Now, in our system, that would have happened on another project. The project is onboarding clients. How do you sell them? How do you onboard them? How do you pull all the information you need so you can do the work for them, right? All right, so that happened in another project. See, the projects link. After the onboarding, then comes this project, which is how do you do the work? All right, so now you've got the onboarding. As it starts this off, you've got to now create what's called a deck. What a deck is, we pulled all the information from the client about his business, about his numbers, about his financial statements, about his goals, about everything that's going to matter in raising him this money. All right? And we've pulled all that information. That information has to get recomposed into what's called a deck that's going to be sent out to all of the lenders that like this type of business in this industry for this amount of loan in this geographical location. Okay? All right? And so that deck has to get created and then sent out. So that's a milestone. We know when we've reached that milestone because the deck's created and they've gone out to the lenders. Okay? Clear, measurable milestone. The next milestone is term sheets received. Okay? The lenders reviewed them. The ones that liked it sent back a term sheet. Okay, we'll loan the money. Here are the terms. Here's the amounts. Here's the fees. Here's everything, right? Interest rates, everything. Amortization schedules. And then once the term sheets are received, that's another clear milestone. We know when that happens. Then the next one is final agreement. So that's the lenders have signed off on it. The borrower has signed off on it. Everything's now signed. Okay? That's a clearly measurable milestone. We know when that happens. And you'll notice there's dates underneath there, okay? So the template sets the dates going forward, the timeline by which this should happen. So we know when these things should happen. And if they don't happen, some interesting things are going to start to happen, as you'll see. All right, so then you got the final agreement signed, and the last thing is the goal. What was our goal? Our goal was raise $1 million. Okay, now this might have had a whole bunch of milestones in between, but this gets you the picture of the milestone. So in your projects, what do? You take a given thing that has to happen in your company, you have a beginning, you have an end, which is your goal, you have definable milestones in between, you have a timeline of when that should happen by. So all of a sudden, chaos is starting to be brought into some order in your business. It's becoming predictable. It's becoming knowable. All right, so the goal is raise the $1 million, and then after the $1 million is raised, we got all those people up there at the top to pay. So there's going to be some kind of payment where we invoice and allocate money and all that good stuff. I'll show you what it is in just a moment. Okay, now, once you've got your timeline and your milestones, then what has to happen? In order to get from you've got all the client's information and you've onboarded them to where you've sent out a deck to the marketplace, there are tasks that have to happen. People in your organization are going to have to do stuff that makes that happen. So you're going to have a task that has to get done. That task is going to have action steps that are required for somebody to do in order for that task to be completed. And it's going to be true for not one task, but many tasks that have to get completed in order for it to get to, from just the information you collected to the putting together of that deck and sending it out to all of the lenders. Okay, now in order to get from there to the term sheet, same process. In order to get from the term sheet to the final agreements, same process. Different tasks, different things that have to be done, different people are going to do them. But if you go into the owner's head of that business, he knows every one of those tasks. But he's never written them down anywhere. He's never decided that this had to be a plan that other people were going to follow. He never gave any thought to how do we really train people to do every one of those tasks? How do we know every one of those tasks is going to be done and done on time? How do we hold people accountable if they're not done on time? See, no thought has been given to any of that. It's still in the owner's head, and that's why he has to do everything. So now we got the tasks to the closing, etc. Now up on top, connected to all this is a bunch of bells and whistles, okay? Because if things aren't happening on the schedule, if it's falling behind, somebody or something has to get up and wave and say, whoa, you're off timeline. And it has to identify which of the tasks are off timeline, which of the action steps, which of the people responsible are off. And you've got to know it in real time because you don't want to wait a month to find out that this wasn't done, okay? So you need a reporting back system that tells you immediately if things aren't connecting. So those warning notices come in many forms. They could be a sound that goes off on the person's terminal who's responsible for the timeline. It could be a text that gets sent out to somebody or an email that gets sent out to somebody or an internal memo that's in the system itself and just works within the system to give people information and notices. So now all that's working. All that's in systems following all that. It's warning when anything is behind and isn't showing that it's kept up to the schedule. Okay, then if everything goes right, we reach the goal, and so now there's a collection process. And the collection has to allocate the money that's come in from that fee structure that was generated when that $1 million was completed. And maybe that's 7% the total fee structure. So there's $70,000 that's got to get split up now between people, okay? So it's got to get allocated, part to the client source, part to the solution partner, part to the cross-marketing partner or the cross-marketing ISO, and then once it's allocated, and remember, everybody has an iPhone, right, or a phone. Everybody's got a computer. Everybody that's in there can see real time where this project is, how much money they're owed, when are they going to get paid, has the money been collected yet or not. Everybody knows everything. Transparent system, okay? And then a post-transaction adjustment, because sometimes things happen in a transaction, but they got to get reversed out and readjusted some way. There's a process for that. All right, now the thing I'm showing you here is that red line, okay, underneath all that. See the red line under there? Because not all collections only happen at the goal. Sometimes you have a project where, as you meet your milestones, you're entitled to be paid money. So sometimes the collection process is triggered by the milestone, and sometimes it's only triggered by the goal. So the system has to accommodate how you're getting paid on this. Now, the features of the system are web portals that are mobile. You can see everything you need to see on an iPhone, on a tablet, on your PC, whatever it is. As long as you have internet connection, you log into the portal with your name, your username, and your passcode, and now the system knows what you're entitled to see. Okay? So anything you're supposed to know and have available to you, you have available. And that includes the client. Now, why is it important that the client know everything that's going on? You don't want them calling you every day, right? Because what do they do now? Client calls you, got my money? Got my money? My money coming in yet? When do I get it? What's holding it up? You don't have to ask those questions. He's going to know everything. He's going to know right in that process exactly where it is. If there's a holdup, he's going to know it. Now, does that kind of put everybody on a sense of urgency in the system? If the client really knows what's going on with you bet it does. So you're starting to develop a system where there's no funny business. Nobody messes around. Everybody's going to be accountable. And watch this, because there's another level of accountability. Okay, the solution partner will be entering into the system when this project comes up who the milestone driver is. And every milestone will have a milestone driver. Now, you may be tempted to call them the manager. Do not call anybody in your organization a manager. Do not call anyone in your organization a supervisor. They are terms of mediocrity. Managers and supervisors process stuff. They oversee stuff. Why do we call them a driver? Because a driver is different than a manager. A driver has a responsibility to drive that project to conclusion. No messing around. We don't manage anything. We drive results. So now that milestone has a driver. That driver is responsible for every one of those tasks happening on time. And it's that driver's responsibility to deliver the result, to get that next milestone, on time, on budget, the way it's supposed to happen. And every task is going to be assigned a person responsible for that task. And every action step is going to be assigned a person responsible for that action step being completed. There will be no place to hide. Everyone knows what their responsibility is. Everybody has it assigned. And Big Brother is watching. Okay? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm meaning this is a business. And if you're hired to do a job, you have to be responsible to get that job done. And to get it done within the framework of what the organization expects you to do it in terms of a time frame. So now you know who's responsible for every one of your action steps, your tasks, and whose job it is to drive that milestone and make sure it's completed on time. Now, we don't throw people to the wolves here. What's the one excuse that's a real excuse for an employee not to get something done? I don't know what to do. Nobody ever showed me. You just threw me in here. You said, go do this, and I have no idea what to do. We want to cure that. That will never happen here. Do you know if you work for McDonald's and your first training or your job that they give you is to mop the floor, okay, they sit you down to a video. And in that video, it shows you everything you have to do to mop that floor right. It shows you where the fluids are kept, where the bucket's kept, where the mop is kept, how to wring out the mop in a certain way to get it perfectly free of any fluids, how to put just the right amount of soap or detergent in the bucket so that it doesn't become, the floor doesn't become sticky, so that the floor doesn't smell after you're finished of detergent. It shows you how to rinse the floor to make sure every drop of that soap and detergent you used is now removed from the floor. And it shows you how to make sure that the floor is not slippery, how no one's going to trip there. And then they give you written instructions that back up everything you just saw in the video. And then they give you a test that says, what do you do if this happens? And what do you do if that happens? How do you prevent this from happening? And if you don't pass the test, you go back and watch the video again. And if by the fourth, fifth, or sixth time you can't pass the test, they say, thank you very much, we can't use your help here. You can't screw it up because somebody took the time to procedurize every step of McDonald's business. And you're going to do the same thing in your company. You're going to take every single thing that you do and you're going to have an instruction video that when that person is assigned that task, he will have and I'll show it to you, I got the word for a minute, an interface, a graphic interface where he will be able to go to that action step, press that action step, then it brings up the choices of videos, instructions, templates, and forms, and tools that he has to use to do that job. And it shows him the video. It shows him the information sheet. It shows him how it's done. It explains every aspect of doing that task. And it's done for every task and every action step that everybody has to do. So everybody's got no excuse why they can't get the job done. No excuse. Okay? They were instructed. They've been tested. We know they know how to do it the way we want it done. All right, so now everything a new person would need to do the task or action step correctly is there. Now, if we cross-train our personnel, right? We train everybody to do two different types of jobs. If one day one of those people doesn't show up because they got hit by a bus and they're going to be in the hospital recuperating for 30 days, do we worry about that? We worry about them. We send them cards, we send them flowers, we may go visit them, but we don't worry about our business because we have somebody else cross-trained that goes right into that slot and gets that work done. And if they had any question because they haven't done it in weeks or months, they go right into the instruction videos, they go find out again, make sure they know how to do it. All stored and accessible through the system, fully backed up on 2 continents. So we don't go down, okay? As long as you got power, you're in. The system is able to track, analyze, and evaluate the results in real time with graphics and dashboards. So if I want to know, if I'm sitting on the yacht in the middle of the Pacific or the middle of the Mediterranean, and I want to know how's this project going, what milestone has it achieved, where is it stuck, is it stuck any place, is it behind time, who's the responsible driver for that milestone, who's the responsible person for that task, who's the responsible person for the action step that wasn't getting done. I know in the middle of the Mediterranean in real time what's happening. But importantly, every supervisory person, every action person also knows where they stand in the system, what has to get done, and no excuse for not doing it and doing it the way we want it done. The graphic interface takes and puts pictures and brief explanations behind everything that anyone is going to have to, not a lot of brain power now required for how do they operate the system. We're going to have tutorials for everybody. We're going to have graphic interfaces. If I'm, for example, let me give you an example here. If I'm on one of these task sets, and we can make up whichever one it is, we're the person responsible for action step 1B there. And by the way, they're not just called task 1 and action step 1. They're actually put the name on it of what they are that we're asking them to do. So there might be a number there, but there's also the name of what it is to make it easy to really quickly identify what task is this that we're needing to get done. Okay? And I want to know who the person responsible is. I highlight action step 1. I press person responsible. I know who's responsible for that. Okay? I go to their page and I actually get information about them that helps me to communicate with them. Okay? If I'm the person doing this and I need instructions, I'm on that action step, I press instructions. Boom, up pop these instructions out of the library. Everything I need to know, get it done. If I need the video tutorial, I press that. Now I watch the video tutorial. I know somebody shows me. This is how you do it. If I need templates or tools to work with a client or with forms that have to get filled out in order to move it to that next step, They're all in the library. It's point and click. Instructions, tools, doesn't matter what I need. All of these things are available by literally the push of a button. Each one just takes me deeper and deeper. If I press forms, I come to another page that shows me the forms. If I have 3 or 4 different forms, I press that and lets me pick one of these 3. But the point is, the system just keeps scaling down whatever information it is that you need. Support desk, guidance, Q&A, suggestions for improvements, high-level programmer direct access. We're still in our early stages, so if anything's broken, we're not working right, we want people to call us. We want them to go right to that high-level engineer that can fix it for them right there permanently, so it never happens again. For training tutorials, system overview, anyway, I'm not going to read all these. It's obvious that the system has to have ways that it makes it easy for you to use. And there's no need to get overwhelmed by this. Sometimes people look at this and say, oh my God, I have 30 processes in my business. I have 30 different projects I have to set up. I'm an overwhelm. How do I do this? Where do I start? What do I do? It's like, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. It may take a while, but one bite at a time. And so what we do is we start everybody out on a project. And this is how you would do it for yourself, by the way. You establish a project in your business. And you establish what are all the task sets, what are all the action steps, what are all the task sets, what are all the action steps, what are the milestones that I want to measure to, okay? And you can do everything I just did there manually on a smaller company. You can do it. It's a lot easier to let a computer do the work, but it can be done, all right? I wanted you to have a sense of what scaling your business is all about. Okay, so you start and you prioritize your project types. Which one now is the most important? Most people start with sales. I want things going right to sell stuff. So what's my process for, what is this project to get somebody from who they don't know who I am to they're my customer, onboarding, right? And then what are all the milestones that would be achieved? So you go through it project by project, select an actual project, determine your goal, determine your key milestones and set dates, determine your tasks and action steps that are necessary to achieve each milestone, then you determine your action steps necessary to achieve each task, assign staff responsibilities for each milestone, task, and action step. So now you've got a chain of people who are responsible, okay? And if nothing else, you've drawn a map for yourself. Here it's in the computer, but you can draw a map for yourself of everything, just like we did there. The map would look the same, okay? Only now you would put manually, just put names next to each task set or each of those things. So now you got a map, okay? And maybe you don't have it organized like this, but you have a computer in which you have some videos. And by the way, we create training videos all the time. We use okay? You fire up a GoToMeeting, even if everybody's in the same room. You put it on record, and you record the training session that you train somebody to do this. Now you put that in the library, so you don't ever have to do that again. You now have a training video for that particular task set or action step. Yes? Just tap it a couple times. That's not on.
You give the example of the person at McDonald's cleaning the floor.
Just wait for the mic. It'll make everybody happy. It is dead. I've got another mic for you. When it first, you see, that's the beauty of backup. That one's not working either. There you go. All right.
Gordon, you give the example of the person cleaning floors at McDonald's. What about for higher order tasks? If you go to someone like Dan Pink, talking about incentivizing people for the way that they do tasks and so forth, then some incentivations break down for higher, more complex problem-solving type of tasks that may not be repeatable. So how do you deal with those things?
In my experience, everything has a repeatable cycle. Even if something inside the cycle is not something that's identical every time, if you've got a skilled person who their background tells them choices A, B, C, and D, and they're supposed to make that on the fly, you still have the beginning of that process and the end of that process, whatever that is. So that's the task, is to do that thing. And if that person's supposed to have a skill level that they can make the choice between A, B, C, and maybe even innovate a solution that wasn't there before, they still are held to the timeline. They only got so much time to do it. And the driver of this project knows what the limits of that person are, and their job is to get this to the deadline on time. It's like the guy in space. Remember when, what was the thing in the astronaut where they weren't sure if they're going to bring him back to Earth or not? Yeah, and they said, look, there's no options here. We have to innovate this. We have to do whatever we have to do to invent the solution, but we got to do this, and it's got to be done in this time window. So that's what this is enforcing. It's saying there's no place to hide anymore. You can't say, I don't know what to do, and then put it on hold for a while. Can't do that. Okay, businesses do not function well when that can happen. So the idea is to, now, one of the other things I want to mention, this is not a disciplinary system. It's not intended to be. It's not intended to be, you didn't get it done on time, you're a bad guy. Okay? We assume that everybody we hire is a professional, that they're there doing the very best they can, and we wouldn't have hired them unless they had competency at the thing we've hired them to do. So if they're not getting it done, it may be they need help. So the whistle that goes off is not a whistle to discipline the person. It's a whistle that says this person may need help from somewhere else in the organization to get this done. So it's a call to assistance. That's what it really is. The idea is we're a team. We're working together. Nobody hides. Nobody puts things on pause. If you're stuck, we jump in and help you get it through, because the goal is to get to the goal on time. And this is our job as an organization. All right, so anyway, I'm going to whiz through this because I want to get to the hot seats, because that's what's going to make everybody here really happy, I can promise you. Anyway, so this takes you through a bunch of benefits. It's speedier, it's more accurate, it provides for accountability, it facilitates growth, it results in cost reduction in every angle that you can imagine. It increases your capacity to get things done. It produces more profit for your business. It gives you more spendable cash as an owner, specifically higher valuation on sale. You're a buyer of a business, okay? Business A, business B, both making the same amount of profit. Business A, the owner works there day and night, and is an integral part of the business. Business B, owner's off in the Mediterranean on his yacht, and you can buy both businesses, both making the same amount of profit. Which one would you pay more for? Yeah, I don't want to go in the business and work my butt off. I want to go in the business and have it provide for me and run my business and continue to build it, but not have that stress or strain of trying to figure out everything this old owner did that might have been half crazy. You don't want to do that. So when you've organized your business this way, you've multiplied its value on sale tremendously. You end up with more free time. You got time for family, time for recreation, to work on the business instead of in the business, because that's where your efforts should be going. You shouldn't have to do anything that is a function of the business that you're in. You should not be a functionary in that business. You should be the person with a vision, who orchestrates, who delegates, who makes sure that there's a system there that's getting everything, okay? So if it's not your core competency or your expertise, reach out to somebody who can help you do that, okay? But it's got to get done. It's got to get done, or you're a slave to your business forever. All right, any questions real quick, and then I'm going to jump to the hot seats. Yes. Give this man a mic.
2 questions. Things will inevitably go wrong. How does the system cope with a flood happens or a cyclone happens or something doesn't arrive on time that's part of the production process or whatever it happens to be? That's one question. And the second one is...
I'm very myopic. Please let me answer that question first, and then I'll come back to you for the second one. All right. In the system here, anything can go wrong at any time, okay? Let's just get back up here to the whole... Here, you can just... I hate to do this. Sorry about that. I want to get back to one of the slides here. At any time, something can go wrong. That's what the warnings are for. Okay? Because if the system is perfect, and you'll never have it perfect, ever. The idea is to get it 98.75% perfect. Okay? Though it's always going to be something that happened that you couldn't anticipate. It's just a fluke. It's something that happens once every 20 times. The system covers that by it warns you that something is not proceeding. So now it's up to management to come in and understand, why is it not proceeding? What happened this time that we didn't plan for? Then they amend the template to accommodate it not only this time, but forever into the future. If it ever comes up again, it's handled. You should only have to handle a problem once in business, okay? And the solution you come up with is a permanent one. It's designed to solve that every time it shows itself. And then that gets built into your template. So over years, 2-3 years, the template never sees anything that isn't anticipated, ever. But it may take 6 months, a year to get the template to that level. But it just keeps getting better and better, where without this, it stays bad forever. Okay? Second question.
And the second question is, how does it work? Is it a piece of software that is purchased, or is it in the cloud and is a subscription?
Yeah, this is all in our system. So your portal takes you into the system. Everything's done in the system. So if you have to put data in, it goes into the system. If you have to take data out, it comes out of the system. If you have to generate a report, it comes out of the system. So that's why you can do it on your cell phone. You don't need anything, okay? It's like when they sent the first out there, they had a computer that had a 3 megabit processor in it and could only just barely process anything. So it processed very little, and all the work was done on the ground computers and radioed back and forth, okay? We're a little bit better than that today, but it's the same concept. You want all the computing power where you can have massive computing power, and your unit just gets in and out with the information you need to get in and out of the system.
Thank you.
Okay? Yeah, lady here?
Thank you. So I have 2 questions. Actually, my first question, though, my first question is probably my more important one, because the other one's more detail. The first question is, I work for a business coaching company. I want to know, how do I do that services operator thing, the first section? How do I become that first section, the cross-marketer?
Oh, the cross-marketer. That's a really good question. She's busy back there, but if Doria will allow me to, let me give everyone the best way to get in touch with us and tell us what you'd like to do and how you'd like to interact with us. If you go to our site, our main site, which is nationaldiversified.com, and you click on the contact button, right? There's a little menu across the top. One of them says contact. It'll take you to a page, and at the very top of that page, it says, to communicate with us, click here. And it will take you to a web form that lets you put in your name, your email address, what it is you're interested in talking to us about, and either I or somebody at a high level will get back to you right away and make sure that your questions are answered, okay? And that we help you in any and every way we can, okay? So that was the first easy one. What was the second one?
The second one was around, how is the platform purchased? Is it a monthly subscription, or is it an outright purchase that then sits in the business?
We're actually still working a little bit of that out, because we have it in beta mode right now, which is we took a lot of our graduates from the past who had businesses, right? And we said, hey, we want you to come in and be part of this beta thing. So we got a chance chance to put everybody in the system, to start testing it, making sure it works. Most of the bugs are out now. They're still working on the graphic interface to get that perfect. So we're about 3 months right now away from the full launch of it. And by then, hopefully, we figured out how we're gonna merchandise it. But it'll probably be some kind of a subscription. We want to do this as a done-for-you thing, okay? Because if an ordinary person comes in and says, "Oh, I've subscribed to this system. I haven't got a clue now what to do next." So you watch the first tutorial and you're sitting there scratching your head. That's not a way to put in a system. You want to work with somebody. This is what they do. They'll go into your business with you. They'll help you develop out your template. They'll help you identify what are your milestones to do what you do. What are the task sets that they do? Because sometimes in a quick question and answer thing, you can get right to something that you'd sweat over for days if you had to word through it yourself. So that's the goal, is to make this as easy to implement as possible. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
hot seats, dear. It's time. We have 1 hour. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.